opportunity for after the game begins in crunch time.
There's a lesser-known corner of Britain that's become a world leader in one of the fastest-growing businesses on the planet. In fact, it's responsible for some of the most iconic hits in computer gaming history. Every summer, some of the most talented young gamers head to the city from across the world.
I flew with Google Maps, so I like, oh, there's Dundee, and there's a school, and I was like, awesome! So there I'm gonna spend all my summer.
I imagine it to be, a place where everything is condensed. There's technology, music, partying, and basically a very clean, awesome environment.
There's no way this won't be the greatest summer, that I've ever had.
The movie industry has Hollywood. The gaming industry has Dundee. 15 teams will spend 10 intensive weeks in one of the country's most exciting hubs for computer gaming development, where they'll create their very own game from concept to playable prototype. Over the course of the competition, the teams will be mentored by top industry professionals who'll be visiting the teams regularly, tracking their progress from start to finish.
Every team will hit obstacles over the course of the 10 weeks. I mean, it's not going to be hiccup-free. Now it's like the pressure is on and the industry is actually watching them.
Finishing a game from beginning to end in 10 weeks, it's absolutely, mental.
The teams will experience the true meaning of crunch time, when they have to do everything in their power to meet the 10-week deadline.
Crunch time is basically at the end of the project when everyone on the team comes in to work crazy hours in order to get the project finished.
Then they'll face the ultimate challenge when their final games are put to the test in Edinburgh by some of the most critical gamers in the world, the public. Teams are descending on Dundee from as far as China, America and India. They're hoping their summer in Scotland will inspire them to kickstart their careers and win the competition's ultimate prize, a BAFTA.
To be able to put this on a resume
That's huge.
Is like engraving it with gold.
Being here and being able to make this game does mean an awful lot to me.
May the best team win, which is us, by the way.
Over the next 3 weeks, Crunch Time will tell the story of Dare to be Digital, the world-famous computer games development competition. It will follow the fortunes of the 15 teams as they try to come up with a prototype of the next big thing. And that means being across the very latest devices people are using for games. Whether it's firing Angry Birds at buildings on your phone or entering a whole parallel universe with its own economy in the latest Dundee Vision, My World. With 1 in 5 adults now playing games regularly and the average age of the game buyer pushing 40, the idea that players and the people behind games are just geeks is often just wrong. Well, mostly.
I am a geek and I play lots of games. I suppose I am the stereotype, really.
There are people that will sit down and they won't just play a game. They'll have several games running at the same time, playing each of them. These people exist, you can't deny that. But to assume that everyone is like that is just naive.
It's far from the truth that they're all geeks, and you'll probably find the actual true geeks don't get the jobs.
In just 10 weeks, the 15 teams and 75 hopefuls from around the world will have been whittled down to just 3.
Creative Genius, next time you'll be seeing us is, I don't know, probably BAFTA Awards or something like that.
The ultimate winner will not just scoop a BAFTA, but is almost certain to secure a top industry job, an industry where this city is a world leader.
Lemmings and Grand Theft Auto and Crackdown and APB have come out of Dundee. Most people don't know that.
The teams are in Dundee to make their mark on a global industry that's worth over £30 billion. Not bad for some geeks in rooms. It's been a successful year for the industry, with the latest installments of Halo and Call of Duty dominating the charts. New additions to the growing market for motion-controlled games include the hotly anticipated Microsoft's Kinect and Sony's PlayStation Move. Games like Sorcery and Dance Central are further broadening the audience for casual gaming that began with the Nintendo Wii. To win the competition will be a test for these young artists and programmers. They may have the talent to have been selected from over 100 teams and the ability to create artwork that makes them look like pop stars. But that will count for nothing if they can't work together.
You can have a bunch of incredibly talented individuals, but if they're all pulling in different directions and it's a team of prima donnas, they're never going to achieve anything collectively as a team. You know, there'll be 20 beautiful individual bits of work, but as a team project, next to useless.
The teams have 48 hours to settle into their new surroundings, and then the competition will begin in earnest. In 10 short weeks, they must have a prototype ready. To give Welsh team Angry Mango a chance of delivering their highly ambitious game concept on time, they have a canny plan. They have arranged for their own computers to be shipped from Wales so they can work late at night, long after the development studio has closed and the other teams are enjoying themselves. But the elaborate scheduling of the Angry Mango team has been shattered, as have their computers, which have just arrived seriously damaged en route to Dundee.
What's happened is they've broken all of our computers. We've got hundreds and hundreds of pounds worth of damages to our computers. One of my parcels has been lost. Basically, on the schedule that we've developed, it takes into account that we were able to work from about 5 to about 11 in the evenings, and that's like so many hours that we've just been like knocked off our schedule. It's going to really set us back.
This is where the teams will do battle. White space at Abertay University, an international leader in computer games development and a magnet for students from around the globe. Here they'll have access to some of the most sophisticated kit in the world to help them bring their games concepts to life. But before they've even had a chance to begin, Team Tickle are experiencing major teething problems. They've been planning their game specifically for the brand new iPad, just launched in the UK within the past month. But unbelievably, the whole team has overlooked one vital bit of their preparation. They haven't got an iPad, and the whole of Scotland seems to have sold out.
We have taken the big risk, big challenge by doing something. All the teams are doing on the PC, Xbox, Wii, and they have the devices. And we are like, we'll get the device sometime, we know that. We're desperate for iPads.
There's a couple of the teams who have, you know, they're kind of developing their games for these distinct pieces of hardware, basically. And if they can't get a hold of it soon enough, then it's going to cause major issues from them.
As the diverse teams get to grips with life in a new city, they're starting to rub shoulders with the other competitors and get a feel of the very different games and the very different approaches the other teams are planning. Under the competition rules, each of the foreign teams must have one local member.
I'm supposed to sort of show them around and just be here to explain certain Scottish culture, I suppose, and the Dundee accent.
The Chinese team seem to be coping with the local accent just fine and have taken to the city's delicacies with relish. It's time for all the teams to get a taste for the opposition.
A player can play a flute to produce like music and colour, which will then affect the environment.
We're going along the basis of death through the Grim Reaper, rather than being a single person is more of a business.
Making them happy or sad to overcome different obstacles.
Player takes control of a wizard apprentice.
You take the Wiimote and strap it to your foot, and what you basically do then is you take penalty kicks or free kicks on screen.
You do battle, they each play against each other and try and destroy each other's teams.
You can morph your character with your fingers and can traverse the level.
The idea is you play as one of 4 knights who have elemental powers.
Back in the real world, the stakes are particularly high for Richie and the team from India. There's a lot to prove back home. Their university on the coast north of Goa offers no computer games courses, and one tutor tried to persuade them not to come.
We face a lot of skepticism in India. People like even the college professors and all, they never supported us. I don't know why. They don't get the point that people who play games, who create games are not lame. They're the most talented and the most the brightest of them. You cannot, a normal engineer or cannot create a game. They need something to them to create games.
Wanting nothing to put them off their game, the Indian team have a secret weapon. Not risking the local fare, they bought enough of their favourite curry-flavoured noodles with them to provide lunch and dinner for a month.
My favourite noodles, Maggi noodles, I just love them, especially the curry flavour. I've got, me alone, I've got 175 packets of these. 175 packets, that's crazy.
We got a point and we want to prove it very badly. We need to prove it and we'll prove it. Yeah, we're not less, we're Indians, come on.
Throughout the 10 weeks of the competition, the The teams will be lucky enough to be mentored by top developers from some of the biggest studios in the games industry. The mentors will visit the teams on a regular basis, giving them critical and constructive feedback on their progress. Every games team need a blend of special skills, creative and technical, and it's the mentor's job to keep them on track, as well as spotting the next crop of industry talent. For the competitors from across the world to meet such key talent in one place is like rubbing shoulders with the elite in the film studios of Hollywood.
Having been there myself before, 8 years ago, I mean, it does mean everything. The people that do well here can go on and have a very successful career in the industry. So, I mean, if you stand out, then people will take notice.
It's almost unheard of for someone coming through DARE that's applied themselves not to end up with several job offers at the end of it.
There's a lot of companies around Scotland and the UK as a whole that look at this competition closely and pay attention to the best guys.
Obviously it's a massive opportunity to get to work with so many people from the industry, and it can really take you places, so we're all looking forward to getting started.
After teams have travelled from 4 continents with their big ideas, it's finally time for the competition to begin. Everyone has moved in, unpacked, and now they're busy at Whitespace putting their dreams on the screens. But for Team Tickle, the problems just get worse. Even though they're the local team, a trip to pick up their missing iPad from the Scottish capital has ended in failure.
We just went to Edinburgh, which is like, I don't know how far, a long way, probably a round trip of 160 miles to try and get an iPad, and they didn't have any. Now it's kind of play with time. That could be like 2 weeks away, which is like, would be about a fifth of the way through the competition without using the device or touching the device.
Without their iPad, they won't be a threat to anyone, and they certainly won't be picking up a BAFTA. "15 teams from all over the world are spending 10 weeks in Dundee. In the past, Dundee has been known for its jute, jam and journalism, but what most people don't realise is that it's now responsible for some of the most iconic computer games on the planet. And the industry in this modest Scottish city just keeps getting bigger. It all began with Dundee's gaming grandfather, Dave Jones, who founded DMA Design in 1988. DMA conceived worldwide gaming hits like Lemmings, the simple yet highly addictive game that sold an estimated 15 million copies since its release in 1991, and the controversial best-selling Grand Theft Auto, allowing players to adopt the role of a notorious inner-city criminal causing death and destruction wherever they roam. The uninitiated seldom fail to be surprised at the scale of the computer game revolution. But in Dundee, a whole generation has grown up with the city being a creative powerhouse for the industry, and games have already found a place alongside the stones and bones in the City Museum. Scottish Ambassador Thomas has brought his Swedish team members to the local museum for a history lesson.
As history and technology has advanced, we've ended up with all these games, and there's videos on the internet of the DMA offices, and it's just like big CRT screens like that, and like 3 of them all squashed in, and they're making games like Lemmings, and now that's flourished into the big industry that we've got now.
I did not realize that Dundee was just so big in gaming industry. I just, like, Dundee, okay. Like, wow. This is like the origin.
The industry is still growing strong here, so it's going to happen more often. You know, there's going to be more names to add to that list in 5 years' time, and competitions like DARE vastly increase the chances of that happening.
One of the biggest games to come out of Dundee in the last year is Crackdown 2, developed by the city's very own Ruffian Games.
It's a sandbox action-adventure game, so it's all over the top, silly, humorous, and you know, there's nothing really else like it in the market at the moment, and it really fills a hole, and people just kind of lap that stuff up.
The gaming industry hasn't just exploded in Dundee in recent years. It's not been lost on some of the teams that the Nintendo Wii has revolutionised what was once perceived as a solo pursuit for a loner in a darkened bedroom.
The Wii has made the gaming market much larger. Many people who would never have thought to own a console before now have got the Wii, purely because of all the casual games like Wii Fit, Wii Sports, and using the Wii Remote's a much more natural way of interacting with a games console than using a pad. Many people are intimidated by the pads.
The release of the Nintendo Wii console in 2006 saw a shift from a pad packed with buttons to a simple motion-capable controller. Since then, Nintendo has single-handedly transformed the idea of gaming in the eyes of the public. Although it now has competition from the Kinect and Move, the Wii is still a leader in its field with popular 2010 releases, including Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Epic Mickey. And the Wii is behind a visit Team Nevermind are embarking on. This is hallowed turf in a different kind of game, home to one of Dundee's 2 football teams. Team Nevermind from Ireland have come to Tannadice, Dundee United's ground, hoping that the club's recent success on the field might rub off on them.
We're here just to basically get some shots of an actual football stadium so we can incorporate them into the game and kind of give us an idea of how a stadium should really look, kind of add a little bit more realism to the game.
They're hoping to score points with the public with their interactive football game, Wii Kick.
I originally thought when the Wii came out, like, this is a great idea, it's new, and I thought, like, it would be great, like, if you could attach the Wiimote to your foot and, you know, like, play football. So it's kind of like being sitting, I mean, like, at the time, it couldn't have been done, like, because it was such a new thing and there wasn't libraries written for it and everything. But I mean, like, now it's got to the stage where it's like, you can do it at home on your own PC.
Current holders of the Scottish Cup, Dundee United have a proud record on the international stage.
It's the only cup I've ever held. My grandfather would love that if he was still alive. Probably the only time that we, as gamers, get to make our own game, our own idea, because, I mean, if you go work for another company, you're going to make their ideas, and that'll probably be years before you get around to making something that you really want to make. Like, so, yeah, being here and being able to make this game does mean an awful lot to me.
While Team Nevermind dream about lifting the winner's trophy, bears with jetpacks aren't short of visual inspiration on their Scottish doorstep for their Wii game.
For our game, one of the levels we've got is a castle level. It's the home of our emo unicorn character, and so there's sort of cannons and big ornate doors and buildings like this. So we're just here to get some references, take some photographs of the cannons and the battlements and stuff like that.
Basically, our game, it's all about competitiveness. We find that that's a big drive to a lot of gamers, and we find, personally from playing games ourselves, that we find that the games that we actually play competitive against each other is much more fun, and you get much more feedback than playing like an AI or just like a computer character that you don't really get the emotions.
The team from America have decided the key character in their game has an umbrella and are brainstorming their narrative.
He uses an umbrella to help him fall slower so he doesn't die. And we're like, okay, but what could be like a narrative reason? What could be he could have a purpose for the umbrella. So we decided that he's an umbrella salesman in a town where there's not necessarily a whole lot of rain. They're having a drought. And so he's losing money because nobody buys umbrellas since it's not raining. So he decides to go on this quest to bring rain back to his town.
The team that's travelled 4,000 miles to get here have discovered it's not a problem shared by Dundee. Team Tickle has finally got some exciting news. Weeks after everyone else got started, they finally got their hands on the elusive iPad they need. Miraculously, they now have not just one iPad, but 4, thanks to an intervention by the competition organisers and James's mum.
It feels great because we programmers can use one for our own and the artists can get one to test the level and stuff. So it feels absolutely amazing to actually hold them and not working with a simulator on the Mac.
It's understandable that some of the teams are creating games for mobile devices. Touchscreen mobile gaming is a market that's spreading like crazy, with chart-topping releases such as Angry Birds and Flight Control being purchased by at least 5 million users worldwide.
I don't play like PC games or anything like that, and then I've just got a touchscreen phone and I've downloaded pretty much every single game. I think everyone plays games because you're sitting on the train and you need to waste some time basically, so you download a game.
I think a strong factor in why we chose the iPad was because it was new and it was exciting and people hadn't used it before, so we're going to have a bit of a wow factor basically. They see this and they're like, and then they've got the game. Hopefully the game is good as well.
While Team Tickle's problems have been solved with a bit of savvy shopping, Angry Mango, still reeling from their broken computers, have discovered there's a bit of an issue with the phone they're designing their game for.
You know, the key concept of their game, which is morphing their player character, turns out that wasn't feasible in the target platform that they're aiming for, which is Windows 7 Mobile. So they're using older hardware, which is the Zune, and that can't actually do what they want to do.
Hardware issues aside, the recipe for a good game seems to be a bit of artistry and a lot of smart programming.
This will sound weird coming from a designer, but you don't really want designers on these teams because there's only 5 guys on a team, and you really want guys that are doing a lot of work. You want coders and you want really talented artists.
Code is the area that tends to, you know, be the most demanding.
The need for this mix of programming as well as artistic expertise is beginning to expose cracks in the Indian team. It's all too clear to Murray, their Scottish teammate, who has serious concerns about whether they can deliver any game at all.
You're going to have all these people, thousands of people in fact, looking at it and saying, oh, do they like it or not? And if everyone says it's rubbish, then it'll just be an embarrassment, it'll be shameful. So you have to have something at the end, and it is very high pressure.
The one good sign is that most of the team are aware they've got a problem.
We three are modelers, animators, and we don't know much of programming and engine integration. Murray and Gaurav will be handling the technical side, and we provide them as much backup as we can. So ideally it would have been best if there were 4 programmers in the team, but we're down to 2.
If you've got more programmers, you can all work on different aspects of the game, and you don't have to even work on the same files, you can work on completely different things. For instance, someone could be doing a model load, or someone can be doing a render, or someone can be doing just gameplay physics, someone can be doing artificial intelligence, and you can all be doing that singly and then bringing the files in. All you have to do is include it, and then it goes and it runs. And that's why more programmers would be good.
There appears to be tension within the team and concern that Gaurav is too optimistic.
We work hard enough. I guess we can perform much better than 4 programmers from any other team.
Today we had a quite tight schedule. We worked like 11.5 hours there. From 9:30 to 9. So now it's our party time. We work hard and we party harder.
Next time, as Crunchtime continues, where are all the women? Are computer games just boys and toys? And is the party over for Team Gazab from India as their level of expertise is called into question and the competition gets serious?
I did come here initially as a programmer, but now, you can call me Jack, Jack of all trades. There is this pressure. I mean, when we had a couple of press conferences back in India, and they were like, these guys are going to go and get us the BAFTA. So we're like, oh my God, what do we do?
To be perfectly honest, they're nice guys, but they've not got a chance. Not a chance. There's no way, absolutely no way.
"15 teams from across the globe are spending 10 weeks in Dundee, an unlikely centre of the computer gaming universe. These budding games developers are here to turn their concepts for video games into playable prototypes to be tested and judged by the public. Crunchtime follows the story of the international computer gaming competition, Dare to be Digital, based in Whitespace at Abertay University on the east coast of Scotland. The teams are eager to make their mark on a multi-million-pound industry and to impress the biggest names in the business, some of whom were part of the very same competition before they went on to become top industry professionals. If they succeed, these teams will follow the same path and are all but guaranteed a glittering career in games.
It's almost unheard of for someone coming through there that's applied themselves not to end up with several job offers at the end of it.
If they fail, it'll be game over.
If everyone says it's rubbish, then it'll just be an embarrassment, it'll be shameful, so you have to have something at the end.
This is Crunch Time. It's halfway through the competition, and the teams are well on their way to creating video games that will be tested and judged in the biggest gaming competition of its kind. The teams are using their knowledge of the latest gadgets and trends in games. As the contest heats up and the pressure builds, the teams are getting a real sense of the competition.
I think Angry Mango is very good and a good competition to us.
Yeah. In regards to quality, I think Twang is one of the best in regards to quality, definitely.
A successful team dynamic means everything in the gaming industry. A good game needs a good team.
You need a team that works well, a team that communicates with each other, a team that works out what each other needs.
I definitely think you need one person to take charge and lead and direct.
Everyone has to look at what you're making and go, yes, this is what I thought the game was going to be like.
Computer games development teams are divided into two areas. The artists have the vision, and the programmers need to make that vision happen on screen. The difference in roles often attracts different personality types, so good communication is vital.
It needn't be a war between creative and technical, like the technology should support how you're being creative, and obviously the creative types have to be fit in with how the technology is set up.
The teams are aware that to make their games happen, the artists have to make compromises for the programmers and vice versa.
Sometimes when you're working like programmers and artists, it can be like there's one set of people wants to go one way, the other set of people wants to go the other way.
The artists normally say, let's do this crazy thing, and then the programmers will go, no, no, no.
Now that Team Tickle have their hands on the iPads they were so desperate for, their game is well underway. They're looking for visual inspiration for their jungle-based game, Sculpti. Hard pushed to find an authentic tropical paradise on the streets of Dundee, they've come to the city's botanical gardens for a Scottish slice of the Amazon. So far, they've based their animations solely on images found online, but they think it's important to bring as much realism into the game as possible.
The actual kind of texture and colour of the plant's really important rather than just like modelling it. So we're here to try and find out what's really in a jungle. Like that, actually. They're exactly the same as those leaves. That's what Google Research does.
Sculpti is a unique physics-based platform game. The player touches the iPad to mould Sculpti through the lush jungle environment, escaping the evil Uja Uja and collecting points as they go.
We have the whole level design done. So as per schedule, we are on schedule-ish and everything.
Getting their team dynamic right seems to be the key to Team Tickle's collective success.
We see people in other teams and they just like strop and like smash it, like kind of hit the desk or whatever, and shout or talk to each other, have to go outside and have an argument, and we've not had that at all, really.
There's 5 of you in the team. If people don't get on well, then you can't escape to somewhere else. You're not going to not be able to talk to that person for a week because you're going to be talking to them every day. So, yeah, it's quite important that you get on.
There's no point in stressing over making the game when you know you can have fun while you're doing it with a team that you enjoy being with.
Got to say one thing, there's nothing like this here, though. At the moment, it's more like our whole lives. It's a bit sad, really, but then it's probably the most important thing that any of us have done ever. Yeah. So it's definitely worth it.
The teams are working and living in each other's pockets day in, day out for 10 intensive weeks. How they are living and working mirrors the reality of teams making the leading blockbuster games, a world some of their competitors could be destined for.
You need a team that has fun, one that enjoys working hard together and playing hard together and does whatever it takes to pull it all together and meet the deadline.
We do everything together. We take it in turns to cook every evening. We go to and from work. We all walk at the same time, stuff like that. It just makes you more of a unit, because I know there's a lot of teams here who don't socialise together once they're not in the in the office working, they spend their time separately.
I think a healthy body is a healthy mind, and a healthy mind produces a perfect game.
Yeah.
Luckily, none of them want to win MasterChef. But when team dynamics go wrong, the game's bound to suffer. And that's exactly what's happened to Team Gazab. Before they made video games in Dundee, they made ships. The most famous was sailed by Captain Scott on his first voyage of discovery to the Antarctic. Team Gazab have come to see the ship, which came home 25 years ago, and to reflect on their own mission, hoping that their voyage to foreign parts will not be as ill-fated as Scott's most famous expedition 100 years ago. With only 4 weeks left, it's the last chance for the Indian crew to get back on course and recapture the spirit of determination which brought them 4,000 miles to take part.
If we don't win anything and go back, yeah, we'll face a lot of flack.
The pressure has taken its toll on personal friendships, and as a result, their game is suffering.
What I will say is this competition has tore people apart, like it has broken relationships. People have just been fighting each other and arguing, things have got heated, people have fallen out and not spoken to each other for a whole night.
Yeah, sometimes I would just go back for lunch and I would be like, oh, what if I have like 1 hour sleep? And you know, I would do that a lot. Sometimes go take longer breaks. Yeah, those things actually disturb the whole team environment.
Having sailed into trouble, Team Gazab are making major changes to their dynamic. No one is being made to walk the plank, but Gaurav has been largely relieved of his programming duties.
I've helped a bit of artist and a bit of design, and I've done all the sound effects and integrated all the sound. Well, the music is done by Rohan. There were things that I got into in programming, but those things sadly turned out to be like unsuccessful. I did come here initially as a programmer, but now, you know, you can call me Jack, Jack of all trades.
I mean, pretty much all of us have mucked something
I have an advice for anyone who plans to open up a company: never work with your friends.
In recent times, it's not only the games industry that has colonised Dundee. A breakaway pod of dolphins has moved in too. Angry Mango have discovered the best time to spot these intelligent creatures. They unexpectedly find another intelligent Dundee species. The crew includes a games developer.
This is just what I do as a hobby on weekends, so I'm actually in the games industry, so I just wondered how you're enjoying the DARE project.
Yeah, it's been amazing getting so close to the sort of industry. And Dundee as well, it's got loads of industry veterans lurking around.
Yeah, not expecting a small place like Dundee to have so many games industries in one spot. So, I mean, in my head now I'm thinking, oof, I may have to move up here.
Your game is a bit about water and dolphins and things, is it?
We've got this entire section of a level which is sort of underwater, and you're sort of interacting with these different underwater elements. And the idea is that you have to make your character sad in order to sink in water.
Oh, yeah.
So you're sort of like this melancholy character floating around in the water. That's like one of the themes for the game.
Designed for the hotly anticipated Windows Phone 7, Angry Mango's Mush is a touchscreen game, allowing you to alter the character's emotions by stretching his facial features with your fingertips. It all sounds great in theory, but Angry Mango can't ignore the fact that they're designing their game for a phone that isn't yet on the market.
The difference with our game is that we're making it for a platform that's not been released yet, so it's a real challenge not to have the hardware.
To capitalise on the up-and-coming launch of the Windows Phone, Angry Mango need to time the release of their game to perfection.
With our games design in the past, we've tried to focus on... Whoa, dolphin there. I missed it. Damn. So as well as having, like, we've got the innovative gameplay, we've got a unique art style, as well as having, like, a really innovative sort of interaction system where you control the characters' emotions themselves.
The sophisticated art style used in Angry Mango's game has made an impression on the Crunchtime mentors, but the technical issues they experienced at the beginning of the competition means their game is far from complete.
They've got it all on paper, but the unfortunate thing is that they've not got their game playable, and that's quite worrying considering they've only got a couple of weeks left.
But there's one team who seem to be streaming ahead in the mentors' eyes. That Game Studio from Sweden.
I'm one of the pickiest people you'll ever meet when it comes to games. And they've, like, I'm playing the game and just thinking, it's done. It's pretty much done. Just fix the bugs, and if the judges have got any sense, they're going to win.
Twang is a multiplayer racing game developed for the Xbox 360. The player races by shooting a grappling hook through the air. By being faster than the others, you eliminate your opponents, and the last player to survive wins. Twang is almost complete. But the mentors have serious concerns about the choppy waters the Indian team have entered.
Gotten it fine.
Very fine.
He's
panicking yet?
For me, Team Gazab are up against it. They're in trouble, I would say. What we just saw there is pretty much identical to what I saw about 6 weeks ago.
Week 1.
5, 6 weeks ago.
The issues with some of the lights aren't flickering properly, so they're not synchronised.
And that's their whole game. The whole game is based on lights, and they can't get the lights to work. And there's no AI. There's nothing. It just doesn't look like there's a reason to play
So
it.
those things are, if you have a shader, it'll go on everything.
No.
They
They're nice guys, but they've not got a chance. Not a chance. There's no way. Absolutely no way.
Things are getting stressful, and with only 3 weeks left of the competition, it's important for the teams to let their hair down once in a while. The competition organisers have arranged a traditional Scottish ceilidh, but the lack of lassies in the competition is sure to make for some unconventional partner choices.
Obviously, for a ceilidh, you need a partner, or two, usually. I don't know how that's going to work.
Would you like to dance, sir?
The Crunchtime teams have been cherry-picked from over 100 who applied. They're amongst the brightest and best new talent coming into the computer gaming industry. The gaming business is a male-dominated sector, and with just 8 females out of 75 participants taking part in DARE, this competition is no exception.
It's definitely reflective of the industry. I think there is a lack of women in the industry, and I think it's, well, traditionally there's a reason why, but I'm hoping it's going to change, and I hope that the industry can sort of grow up a bit enough that women want to be more a part of it.
It's a special night for the teams. They've been treated to a traditional Scottish dance, or ceilidh, by the competition organisers. And some of the boys have decided to get right into the spirit of things.
I'm going to wear one of these every day from now on, because they are the most awesome thing. Yeah. I've got my wallet, my keys, my phone, and my chewing gum in one convenient location.
With the lack of female participants in the competition, the boys have accepted there aren't enough girls to go round for every dance. It's illustrative of the wider issue in the industry. In 2009, a mere 4% of people working in games in the UK were female.
You know, one day, hopefully, it'd be really nice if it was more 50-50, you know, just because I guess not as many girls get into things like game design or whatever.
1/5 of US team Rambling Wreckage is Andrea. The assumption that girls can't program is a prejudice she's had to deal with since her decision to choose a career in the games industry.
It would be nice not to be judged immediately, but I can code and do art. I just like art better, and I'm better at it because I like it better. But yeah, people just assume that I'm an artist, I guess, because I'm a girl.
It's fundamental to Andrea and her US teammates that they create a gender-balanced game with a female perspective, and it forms a large part of the reason why they chose to design their game for a mobile phone.
Console games, probably, a lot of those are very male-skewed. Mobile phone games tend to be more gender unbiased because everyone has mobile phones. It's a platform that was first marketed towards everyone, and then games are marketed for people who have mobile phones, so they're marketed towards everyone. Statistically, there are certain interests that girls have in games versus boys. Like, girls really like narrative, usually, and they don't really care about violence either way.
She thinks there's a gap in the market for girls who play games and girls who make games.
to me, it's an untapped market, and it's an untapped pool of talent as well, because there's lots of girls who are great artists, and there are lots of girls who are great coders, and there are lots of girls who are great designers, and you know, they would never realize that they have this industry that they could go into, and the industry is missing that population of talent.
With hordes of alpha males working behind the scenes in gaming development, it's no surprise that many of the most popular games have been made by boys, for boys.
It tends to be that men will make games for men, and so therefore you never get women interested in games, and it's a bit of a vicious circle.
It's not just that girls need to play fluffy pink games, because that would be ridiculous to say that. It's just having, obviously, just a different point of view.
It's the presence of guns and violence that has led to such a negative view of games in the past. But the industry is changing, with around a third of UK women now classifying themselves as gamers. This is bound to have an impact on the kind of games being produced.
It is changing with casual games and sort of new markets coming about, so I think it will continue to change, and that we'll see it maybe even balance out in 20 years, 10 years, hopefully.
It's the morning after the night before, and some of the guys are determined to keep the ceilidh going. But there's no more time to relax. In just 3 days' time, a group of junior game testers will be coming into Whitespace to give the team some very frank feedback on their prototypes. Team Gazab are struggling to get their game, Chaya, ready in time. And team leader Shobit has invoked the assistance of the gods for a drastic helping hand.
Shiva is the Indian god of destruction. So which basically means it's a heavily SWAT team carrying lightning guns with chainsaws and flamethrowers. Anyone who needs to work completely undisturbed, you'll have to take the sign from me and stick it up on their desk so we do not disturb that person for the whole day.
The day of focus testing has arrived. This is a key day for the teams, as it's the first time they've had an outside perspective on the games they've been pouring their hearts and souls into for the last 8 weeks. What these young gaming experts have to say means everything.
And that kind of accountability to a real audience, that makes a huge difference. You need to get people touching it, playing it, using it. And then you find out fairly quickly, what works, what doesn't work, what's engaging with them, what isn't engaging with them. What's nice about that is you can start amplifying the things that are working and suppressing or even removing the things that don't. So it's essential.
These avid gamers will be taking their job very seriously. They know exactly what they're looking for.
I play tactic games and first-person shooters.
I don't like games that are a bit slow.
I like a bit of adventure in the games and things like that.
The junior testers are making their way around Whitespace, testing the games and judging them based on their graphics and playability. The teams want to know exactly what's working and what's not, so they can make changes in time for the ultimate public event in Edinburgh, Protoplay.
We finally realised where the kids are going to play, where people are going to play spend most of their time playing. It's not the scenes where we thought they would be. It's definitely the smashable scene seems to be the one where everybody's really interested in, so I think that's something we're going to think about over the next 2 weeks.
That's better, all the smashing objects and everything. It's quite fun.
See, I told you.
The testers are pulling no punches when it comes to telling the teams exactly what they think.
It's a bit glitchy, but...
Yeah, you got that right.
Do you think the signposts are, they make sense where they show 4 fingerprints or 3 fingerprints?
No, not really. It's a bit hard jumping over it.
The troubled Indian team have pulled out all the stops with their game Chaya in a last-ditch attempt to impress these young gaming experts. But it's not an intervention by the Indian god Shiva that's helping them this time. The team have come up with their own idea of a time trial in the hope of injecting some drama and competition into what the mentors saw as a prototype with no real gameplay.
58 seconds, that guy was too good. He was amazing. You have Ryan second, 1 minute 14. Christopher at 1:28.
Team Gazab are desperate to know how their game Chaya fared in the eyes of these young gamers. It's time to hear whose game they enjoyed playing most.
Chaya was very good because it was really funny and it's also entertaining. There was a new time shooter type thing that was based on the War of the Worlds, which I quite liked.
Favourite game was Chaya because it was like green circles on the ground and you were a wee spike ball and I was the quickest time.
Where did you rank us out of 5, out of the 5 games you played?
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
By taking the mentors' advice on board and giving their game a reason for playing in the form of a race, Team Gazab are finally getting some positive feedback. And as a result, something miraculous has happened. They can't stop smiling.
I think the best thing is, you know you've done good game design when someone just picks up the pad and right away they know what they're doing. They hit the green light, it speeds them up, they hit the blue light, it slows them down, they hit the red light, it kills them, and then from there on in, they can play the game.
People are actually enjoying it, so it's a great feeling.
It's a 23-hour shift which started.
So hard work does pay off.
Yes.
It's the penultimate day of development at Whitespace. In the final days of the competition, the teams have been experiencing the true sense of the industry term crunch time, where development teams work 24/7 to meet the game delivery deadline.
Cool. Right, I better go finish my game.
Oh, good luck.
With other industries, if you could run over, it might not be so bad, but with this, you have to stay up all night to get it done for that final deadline.
Had to leave for an hour when the cleaners came in, but came back straight after that.
I think it's going to be another late night again tonight.
The clock is ticking, and after another sleepless night, the teams are back in for a final push before the power is completely switched off at 12 noon sharp.
Well, gold this time.
In 20 minutes' time, the power supply in Whitespace will be shut down. While most of the teams are packed up and ready to go, the Indian team are milking every last second of their precious development time.
Guys, you do realise that we've only got like 20 minutes till this.
You do realise if you don't talk to me, I can get the work done pretty quicker.
Up to the bone and beyond. I'm not proud of that fact.
The power's been switched off, and the games are on their way to the Scottish capital. Next time, the teams are in Edinburgh for the most important event of their lives, Dare Pro to Play, where their games will be played by the public and judged by industry superstars.
Nervous as hell, and yeah, we're not really looking forward to the end of the day.
I would say I'm definitely top 6.
I'm not sure if it's nervousness or tiredness or both, but I don't know, feel a bit funny.
So the final nominee for this year's BAFTA Ones to Watch Award and the final winner of Dare to be Digital is
world-renowned annual competition, Dare to be Digital, where each team has spent 10 weeks developing their own vision for a game into a playable prototype.
Guys, you do realise that we've only got like 20 minutes till this.
You do realise if you don't talk to me, I can get the work done pretty quicker.
After a grueling push to meet the deadline, or crunch time as it's known in the industry, their development time in Whitespace is up, but the competition's not over yet. The teams are leaving Dundee and are about to rise to the challenge of presenting their games to the public and major industry professionals in Edinburgh.
In Whitespace, we've been talking to the same people for so long, doing nothing but sleeping, going into work, sleeping again. But now with this, it's interacting with the public and trying to sell our game, trying to sell ourselves, and it's just a really nice change.
From the 15 teams, 3 will be nominated for a BAFTA and 1 will win it.
We're nervous as hell, and yeah, we're not really looking forward to the end of the day.
It's August, and the teams have arrived in Edinburgh. At this time of year, the Scottish capital comes alive. The streets are packed with people from all 4 corners of the earth who descend on the city for a slice of festival action. The teams are busy setting up for Protoplay at the Edinburgh International Conference Centre before it opens its doors to the public tomorrow morning. Dare Protoplay is the event all 15 teams have been working towards for the last 10 weeks. Over the course of 3 days, members of the public will be voting for their favourite game, and industry professionals will be judging them based on 3 criteria: market potential, creativity and innovation, and use of technology. On Sunday, the opinions of the public and industry experts will be handed over to the final judges, Charles Cecil and Gareth Edmondson, who will make the decision on which 3 teams become BAFTA nominees. Charles Cecil is an industry legend. He's managing director of Revolution Software and has been a key figure in the gaming industry for 25 years. He's been responsible for classic hits such as Beneath a Steel Sky and the Broken Sword series. Gareth Edmondson is studio manager of Ubisoft Reflections, a development studio based in Newcastle, famous for the Driver series. The level of success the teams have here will be a measure of how they'll go on to flourish in the gaming industry itself.
The teams that do well in Dare to be Digital are taken extremely seriously by those within the industry. And then also there's the BAFTA connection as well, and the winner will get a BAFTA award.
The standard of the prototypes here is very, very high, but all published games are very high standard as well, of course, so they've got to compete, really compete out there.
To be shortlisted is great, to win is extraordinary.
It's day 1 of Protoplay. The doors are open and the teams are standing by their stations, eagerly awaiting the arrival of their game-playing public. There are thousands of shows happening every day in Edinburgh during festival time. Performers need to come up with novel ways to get themselves noticed, to get the punters to their show. To attract as many people to Protoplay as possible, the event organisers have sent none other than the Grim Reaper to hand out flyers on the Royal Mile. Angry Mango's Greg and Matthew have taken to the streets of Edinburgh, attempting to get people through the door.
Hello guys, you gonna come over to Protoplay soon? You want some? To Protoplay? Press there?
On this occasion, however, they're not having much luck. Protoplay is in full swing, and the public are arriving in their hundreds. All 15 teams taking part in Dare to be Digital are showcasing their completed game prototypes. The standard is incredibly high, and the front runners are jostling for their places as BAFTA nominees. In Sculpti, by Team Tickle, the player touches the iPad to mould Sculpti through the lush jungle environment, escaping the evil enemy, Uja Uja.
We kind of tried to sleep, but it's almost like Christmas.
Grr from Bears with Jetpacks is a multiplayer action game for the Nintendo Wii.
There's nothing we can do about it now apart from just try and impress the judges with our game.
Angry Mango's Mush is a touchscreen game allowing you to alter the character's emotions by stretching his facial features with your fingertips. In Twang, the player races by shooting a grappling hook through the air.
I'm not sure if it's nervousness or tiredness or both, but I don't know, feel a bit funny.
And in Epoch Defense, the player fights alongside time ghosts to repel a massive alien invasion. The event is attracting people of all ages and all walks of life. The teams have to successfully interact and present themselves to kids, teenagers, mums, dads, and even grannies.
It's very good and it's good for the nerves, it's good and it's relaxing. You know, it's very relaxing, takes you away from your worries.
While the public are here to have fun, a selection of visiting industry professionals have a serious job to do. They will be identifying the strongest contenders in the competition and passing on their expert knowledge to the final judges. Will Freeman is deputy editor of Develop magazine, a leading publication in the world of games.
Most of the time I see so-called AAA games that have had hundreds of staff and millions of pounds and potentially a couple of years or more. And yeah, so considering the budgets and the size of the teams, these guys most of them work fast and well.
Andrew Dennison is lead programmer for Codemasters, one of the UK's longest running games developers, responsible for classics like Sensible Soccer, and more recently, the Operation Flashpoint series and Formula 1 2010.
I think the key ingredient for a great game, and this is a real classic, is the visuals. It's the graphics.
Mark Sample works with Gareth Edmondson as games director at Ubisoft Reflections based in Newcastle.
I get to look at all of the games and find out where the potential is, where the market is, and who's actually going to be a rising star at the Dare to be Digital event.
For the last 10 weeks, the teams have had only their computer screens and fellow competitors for company, but now they're in the real world. And if they want to succeed, they'll have to sell themselves constantly to the public and industry professionals alike.
If we focus more on the industry, although that would be good for us, it's not necessarily good for our game. and people won't enjoy it as much if we're just trying to pitch ourselves entirely to the industry.
I very much love to talk, and I'm just like, oh yeah, play your game, and I'm laughing and like being like, oh, you almost got it, and some of the coders are a little bit more reserved, but they still do a very good job. They present the game very well.
The way the teams present themselves has a huge bearing on how their game is received.
It's very important that I present myself professionally, because I'm looking for a job after this, so I don't want to annoy people and give people the wrong impression.
Yeah. If you present yourself all friendly, like, oh, have a cup of tea, done, they're in the bag.
When you're creating games, you're selling the idea, and it's really important that you make a connection with whoever you're talking about what your game's about, what it's going to deliver, and why it's going to be fun.
The teams have to think about how to divide their attention between the public and industry experts when it comes to selling their game.
It's cool if the industry people like it, because they can give really good feedback. But as far as enjoyment goes, I really like the public to enjoy it, because they're the ones playing the game. And, if we're selling it or whatever, they're the ones who are consuming the game.
Public opinion really does count. Every person who comes to visit Protoplay is given a wristband and asked to vote for their favourite game. It's important that the teams get as many public votes as possible, as the final judges will be taking this into consideration when it comes to making their ultimate decision on which 3 teams become BAFTA nominees on Sunday.
Quite enjoyed the iPad game called Sculpti. It was very user-friendly, lots of different levels to go through.
There's quite a few I had a lot of fun with, especially one Chaya at the top. Gur. That is an RTS game for the Wii, and you can assign different units to different places and attack other enemies in 2-player, so it's really good.
Among the people attending Protoplay are special mini-games critics who provide the final judges with extensive feedback on the games.
Oh, it's so important that they're fun. If they're not fun, they're not good. Something with good graphics and a good storyline would be the ideal game for me.
Smashing things, killing things, things like that.
I'm taking this quite seriously because these people, they put a lot of work and effort into these games.
Armed with a clipboard, pen and comfortable one-size-fits-all uniforms, they are making comprehensive notes on each of the game's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Go. New high score.
Team Gaza from India are enjoying the fruits of their labour. Every hour, the person with the fastest time in their game Chaya wins a bespoke trophy.
That one I just played, Chaya, that's brilliant. It's just fun. You have to dodge all these different lights.
She may not have achieved the fastest time, but Team Gazab want to show their gratitude, so this particular public judge gets a trophy anyway.
She has voted for us, and hence she gets a trophy. Here you go. And everybody.
With thousands of games being released onto the market every year in the industry, development studios are constantly thinking about why someone would choose to part with their precious pennies to buy their game over another.
Commercial success with a game really comes from the brand. A game can have all the right elements, graphics, physics, story, but if it isn't promoted right, if the brand isn't strong enough, it doesn't matter how good the game is, you're just not going to get the sales that you want.
It's really important that the game is thought about the user. This is what we do a lot at Ubisoft, is making sure that we're in touch with the consumer and what they're looking for in a great game. Once you've got that and the magic starts to happen, then usually you're onto a winning formula.
The idea that the Crunchtime Teens games could go on to sell millions of copies is far from fantasy, if the current climate of the gaming industry is anything to go by. If they're savvy about the commercial potential of their games, these guys could have a serious hit on their hands.
The industry is changing, and for the better, in terms of what makes a game commercially viable. The most kind of relevant example of that at the moment would be Angry Birds, which is a fantastic game. You step onto any method of public transport and there's half a dozen people playing it. The reason it's done well is because it's good and it's original and it's simple and it's got an enormous depth behind that apparent simplicity, and it's been made by a group of guys younger than me in a little studio in Finland, in Helsinki there, and Rovio Games, and they're now hugely successful.
Over the last 2 days, 15 pre-selection judges have spent time playing the games, and the public have voted for their favourite. The overall standard of the games on display suggests that Gareth Edmondson and Charles Cecil will have a very difficult decision on their hands.
I've been involved in various capacities for this competition for the last 10 years, and every year the standard has increased. This year it's blown me away again.
There's a wide variety, and the graphical level of some of them is just absolutely fantastic.
Tomorrow, the decision will be made as to which 3 teams will become BAFTA nominees.
Well, it has been playing on my mind, but, you know, there's nothing we can do about it now apart from just try and impress the judges with our game, just upsell, try and get the public enjoying it and that sort of thing, and that's what we've been doing so far, so just more of the same.
I think we're just trying to stay calm in order not to be either ridiculously disappointed or like be able to be happy enough, but yeah, I'm like...
It's Sunday, Judgment Day. The teams are arriving for their last day of the event before the awards ceremony takes place at 5 p.m, in which 3 teams will be nominated for a BAFTA.
To be honest, it could go anyway. I mean, everyone seems to have a group of people that really enjoy the game. I mean, you can see on each stand there's always, at times during the day, you'll have queues of people waiting to play each game, so really it's anyone's.
It's difficult to know because we've heard from all the other teams, like the judges have all been quite positive about a lot of the games, but they've been really positive with us as well.
It's 11 a.m. Gareth Edmondson and Charles Cecil have arrived to make their final judgment on the games. They're keeping a low profile as they make their way around the floor. As the teams come face to face with Charles and Gareth, they seem blissfully unaware that they're in the presence of the 2 men responsible for the ultimate decision on who will be shortlisted.
But I can't, can I? It's too popular.
No, there's one down the end.
Oh, is there? Yes, I think.
You put your foot through the TV, then there's the remote. Right, so we're going to be playing off this...
Some Spider-Man inspiration.
Yeah,
Spider-Man, bit of Worms, bit of Bionic Command.
It's the end of an era for all 15 teams who were selected for the Dare to be Digital competition this year, especially for the foreign teams who travelled thousands of miles to take part. Team Gazab from India are already reminiscing about their rollercoaster ride in Dundee and what the future may hold for them back in India.
I'm always going to cherish this moment that this was the competition that made me into work professionally. It taught me everything. I used to wake up, work for 12 hours continuously, work with my teammates like him. He's done a commendable job working with us, so I'm going to miss all this.
Gaurav's time in Dundee has had such a huge impact on him that he's decided to continue his studies in the city.
If we compare ourselves from, how we came in, as engineering students, now we're going as, students of game development, and I will be coming back and joining Abertay and continuing my degree and finishing it in the next 3 years, and hope to get a job in a good game industry. This actually makes me feel that yes, this is what I have to do and this is what I will do. Now we're 5, maybe I'll work in a team of 500 and then maybe one day get on top of that.
When they first set foot onto Scottish shores, US team Rambling Wreckage had high expectations, and they've not been disappointed.
We'll just never have another opportunity like this to be given the resources to do something so great and then get so much feedback on it. And then we're in Scotland the whole time, it's just cherry on the cake.
Gareth and Charles have seen all of the teams, they've played all of the games, and now it really is crunch time. Armed with feedback from the public and industry professionals, they are making their way to the final judging room to decide which 3 teams will become BAFTA nominees. As the judges deliberate over their decision, all 15 teams are waiting anxiously for the imminent announcement.
No, they're from Sweden, so we do know that isn't sponsored by anything local.
I can see why that game would work very well on the stand.
After 10 weeks of hard graft, this is the moment all 15 teams have been waiting for. From here, 3 teams will be taken forward as BAFTA nominees and winners of Dare to be Digital. The teams will be awarded their BAFTA nominations one by one, or in no particular order, as they said. The name of the first BAFTA nominee is about to be announced.
And the winner is That Game Studio Twang.
It's designed very much as a party game, and it comes across as a party game, and I can well imagine people getting together and really enjoying competing against each other. Sadly, I tended to lose against the developers, but I guess that's not all that surprising. With a little bit of practice, I will be able to beat them.
Now it's time to hear who the second BAFTA nominees will be.
And the winner is
Team Tickle with Sculpti.
It's just very, very well executed, and there's some nice little innovations in there that change the shape of the way that your character moves around the world and gives them different characteristics and different ways of interacting with the world.
Sculpti and Twang have their BAFTA nominations in the bag, but the crowd is left on tenterhooks as to who the final shortlisted team will be.
So the final nominee for this year's BAFTA Ones to Watch Award and the final winner of Dare to be Digital is Angry Mango.
Mush was a terrific game. We loved the idea that you actually changed the emotion of the character and that it affected its properties, and then you use that to a gameplay advantage.
It's celebrations all round for Team Tickle, Angry Mango, and That Game Studio.
Absolutely amazing. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it at all. So amazing. Can't believe it. It's brilliant.
I was just trying to think, not in my head, of our names. So that if they said it, I was just going to be like, woohoo!
I thought it was a joke at first, like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Everyone's clapping.
Yeah,
Is this
for
real?
a second I thought I was watching a movie.
And commiserations for the teams who didn't make it.
Nice to get one of the main three, but the competition's been so hard this year, it could have gone any way, really.
At the end of the day, like, you can't get this experience anywhere else other than there, like, so to come out of it with the experience of 10 weeks of developing game from start to finish, like, I mean, that is priceless.
Now, the shortlisted teams have 6 months to wait before they find out who will be chosen for the coveted BAFTA.
There will be another judging process, and really what they need to do is decide whether they think it's worth taking on board the comments that we give, because clearly they go forward to be judged in the Ones to Watch at BAFTA. And I think that all three of them have a very good chance of winning, and I think it's probably worth their while just putting that little bit of polish in now that they've got the time to do so.
I think in terms of marketability and publishability, the Sculpti game draws too heavily, I think, on Loco Roco and the art direction from Loco Roco and even the character. They need to differentiate themselves a little bit more with the artistic direction. And I think they also need to spend a little bit of time on the smoothness of the physics. It still doesn't flow quite as well as it should.
One of the quite major negatives, I would say, is the name. Mush doesn't make you want to go and play it. But generally a really, really high quality game. A couple of tweaks, and again, I think that could be a game that could succeed commercially, certainly very, very high quality.
Twang need to find ways to get single player enjoyment out of it as well, because there's no question it's great fun to play as multiplayer, but out in the commercial market you need to be able to cater for both, so they'll need to find ways to make that compelling.
It's been up to the teams to work out how they address the judges' comments. Since Protoplay, Angry Mango and Team Tickle have made major changes to their game. But Twang, by That Game Studio, is exactly the same as it was 6 months ago.
It's not like we just haven't done any work because we're lazy or we couldn't be bothered. We would have done it if we were able to.
With the BAFTA ceremony imminent, will this affect the Swedish team's chances of picking up the trophy? It's the most exciting night in the video gaming calendar, the BAFTAs. Every year, awards are handed out to the biggest AAA blockbusters, recognising the great and the good of the British gaming industry. The teams from Dare to be Digital have been nominated for a Ones to Watch award, encouraging and rewarding innovation from emerging games designers. 500 miles away from the beautiful banks of the River Tay, the teams are now gracing the red carpet alongside video gaming legends, Hollywood stars, and British pop sensations.
5-10 years' time, this is where the game is in terms of creative industries in Britain at the moment.
I'm feeling strangely numb to it all. I'm not quite sunk in that we're actually here.
I've been sitting around all day waiting, like quite nervous, so I just want to get in there right now.
The three teams have been sitting through the awards ceremony, anxiously waiting for their category to be announced.
Which now brings us to the BAFTA Ones to Watch Award in association with Dare to be Digital.
And the award goes to...
Twang by That Game Studio.
Wow. I did really not expect to be holding a BAFTA award this evening today, to be honest, but feels really good, damn good.
Disappointment that we didn't win, but of course, since we knew the guys and since we saw them through development, I'm pretty sure that we're still happy that they won. All three teams were very strong to win the award, but of course they were the better team, but we can still come strong from this.
I was sitting there waiting for Sculpti to get called out, so when they said twang, it was like, what?
Yeah.
There was a pause.
Each other, no. That's wrong.
We worked so hard on this, and it's you don't get that many opportunities to win a BAFTA, so it's tough. But yeah, I think we'll bounce back.
It's victory for That Game Studio and their game Twang. But yet again, the winners aren't just those who won a BAFTA. The other teams are on track to get what they really came here for: a job.
Anyone who's thinking about applying to DARE this year, absolutely go for it. I nearly didn't, and I've got a BAFTA now that I did, so it's absolutely worth it.